Millionaire comes home, early to find stepmother beating his disabled daughter. What happens next? Stay with me till the very end, and let me know where you're watching from, so I can see how far the truth really spreads. The heel of Catherine's shoe slammed against the floor with a sharp crack. Lily jerked back, her pink crutches slipping from her hands and clattering across the rug. The glass of water toppled, spilling dark stains into the cream carpet. Her thin arm bore a fresh red mark, proof of fingers that had gripped too hard. You are nothing but useless, just like your weak mother. Catherine's voice lashed down, her face twisted in disgust. Tears streamed down Lily's cheeks. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. My crutches slipped. I just wanted some water. Her small voice shook as she crawled, desperate to reach the crutches again, but her trembling hands could not hold steady. Daniel stepped into the room and froze. The scene hit him like a physical blow. His daughter lay on the ground, fragile and terrified, her hair tangled, her body trembling, and the woman he had trusted as a wife towered above her, still seething with rage. Catherine sneered, unaware of him. You cry because you want attention. I told you already, I will not carry the burden of a crippled child. Daniel's chest seized. For a moment, he could not breathe. His little girl's sobs echoed in his ears, and each word from Catherine sliced deeper into his heart. Then fury erupted. Catherine. His roar shook the walls, rattling the glassware on the shelves. She spun around, eyes wide, then quickly covered her face with a smile. Daniel, you're home early. She slipped her shoe back on, smoothing her dress with careful hands. I was just teaching Lily a lesson. She has to learn not to ruin valuable things. Daniel strode forward, his gaze locked on Lily. He bent to lift her, but she flinched, shrinking away as if expecting another blow. That tiny recoil crushed him. He whispered, "It's all right, Angel. Daddy's here." He gathered her into his arms, feeling the tremors in her body, the shallow gasps of fear. His glare cut back to Catherine. "This is your idea of teaching. Look at her. She's terrified." His voice shook with rage. Catherine crossed her arms, tones sweet on the surface, but dripping with disdain. Children like her need firm discipline. If you keep coddling her, she will never survive. She has to understand her place in the world. Daniel held Lily tighter. Her wide blue eyes were full of confusion and shame, as if she believed she deserved this. In those eyes, Daniel saw the awful truth. This was not the first time. She had endured this cruelty before, in silence. Guilt ripped through him. How many nights had he believed Catherine's lies, too blind and too busy to see his daughter's pain? How many times had Lily whispered apologies when she had done nothing wrong? He pressed his lips to her hair, whispering so only she could hear. Never again. Never again will anyone hurt you. Catherine's smile slipped. Daniel, you are overreacting. She only spilled water, nothing more. But there was a flicker of fear in her eyes now. Daniel's voice dropped, cold and final. If I ever see you touch her again, you will not stay in this house another hour. Lily buried her face in his chest, clinging to him, as though he were her only lifeline. Her sobs broke him further, every sound a reminder of how he had failed to protect her. He turned and carried her toward the stairs. For one last moment he looked back at Catherine. He no longer saw the polished wife he thought he knew. He saw a stranger, cruel and dangerous, and he hated himself for not seeing it sooner. Daniel carried Lily up the stairs, his arms aching not from her weight but from the way she clung to him. Her little fingers dug into his shirt, her face buried in his chest, her breath still broken by sobs. He pushed open her bedroom door and walked into the soft, pink space filled with toys and books that should have meant safety. Tonight it felt like a room where innocence had been shattered. He laid her gently on the bed, pulling the blanket over her trembling body. She whispered something, but it was muffled against the pillow. He leaned closer, and his chest tightened when he heard it. "Please don't hit me. I promise I'll be good." The words came from the space between sleep and waking, from a nightmare that was more memory than dream. Daniel's throat closed. He brushed the hair from her damp forehead and whispered, "You are safe now. Daddy is here." But even as he said it, guilt clawed at him. Safe now. What about all the times before? How many nights had she fallen asleep afraid while he was blind in another room or away at meetings? He sat on the edge of her bed, watching her body twitch in uneasy sleep. His mind began to replay moments he had dismissed. The small bruises on her arms Catherine had brushed off as clumsiness. The way Lily had grown quieter in recent months, hiding behind her crutches instead of rushing to greet him. Catherine's explanations had always been smooth, convincing, spoken with a gentle smile. She is dramatic. She cries to get attention. She wants to test boundaries. And he had believed it. Daniel pressed his palms to his face. The memory of Lily's tiny voice echoed in his ears. "I'm sorry." She said it too often. She said it when she spilled a drop of juice. She said it when her crutches made noise on the tile floor. She said it when she simply wanted to be held. He had thought it was shyness, a sweet nature. Now he realized it was fear. A child who apologizes for existing does so because someone has convinced her that her existence is a problem. The guilt grew heavier with each thought. He had chosen Catherine because he believed Lily needed a mother. After Sarah's death, he had been desperate to fill the emptiness. Catherine had been charming, graceful, patient in public. He had wanted so badly to believe she could love Lily. In that wanting, he had ignored the shadows. Daniel rose quietly and left Lily's room, closing the door halfway so she would not feel shut in. He walked down the hall to his study, the room dim except for the glow of the city outside the window. On the desk sat a framed photograph of Sarah, taken the year before she died. She was laughing, her arms around a 4-year-old Lily, her eyes filled with the joy of motherhood. He picked up the frame, his hands trembling. His voice broke as he whispered, "I promised you I would protect her. I promised she would never feel alone. But I failed. I let someone else hurt her in the very house you built for her." His forehead pressed against the glass, and for the first time in years, he cried openly. The weight of his choices bore down on him. He had been blind, selfish, distracted by boardrooms and business deals, thinking money and stability could replace the warmth of love. Meanwhile, his daughter had learned to fear the woman he had placed in the role of mother. It was unforgivable. He sat there in the dark, clutching the photo, whispering to Sarah as if she could hear. "I failed both of you. I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. And now she is broken because of me." The words hung in the silence, raw and sharp. For the first time, Daniel understood that the real battle would not only be against Catherine, it would be against his own guilt, and that battle had just begun. The next morning, Daniel watched Catherine move around the kitchen as if nothing had happened. Her smile was polished, her tone warm, and she even set a plate of pancakes on the table with a chirp in her voice. But Daniel saw what lay beneath. Her eyes flickered with irritation when Lily entered the room, and her hand tightened on the spatula when she thought no one was looking. Catherine leaned down, smoothing Lily's hair with exaggerated sweetness. She said Lily was her little girl, that yesterday was just a misunderstanding. Daniel waited for his daughter to respond, but Lily sat stiffly in her chair, eyes fixed on her plate. She did not speak, not even when Catherine urged her to smile. The silence was louder than any scream. Daniel's chest tightened. For years he had wanted to believe Catherine's charm, but now every word felt like a lie. He noticed how Lily's shoulders hunched when Catherine moved too close, how her fingers twisted nervously in her lap. He had no more doubts. Something had been terribly wrong for a long time, and he had been blind to it. Later that day, as he drove Lily to school, she looked out the window and spoke softly. She asked if they could stop by the library, where Miss Emily read stories. The way she said the woman's name, gentle, trusting, almost hopeful, made Daniel pause. He had never heard his daughter speak of anyone with such light in her voice. He agreed to take her, hoping the change of place might ease her. At the library he watched from a distance as a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile knelt beside Lily. Emily spoke in a calm, steady voice, asking about the book Lily held, and listening as if the answer mattered more than anything else in the world. For the first time in days, Daniel saw his daughter's shoulders relax. She even gave a shy laugh when Emily teased her about choosing the thickest book on the shelf. When Lily ran off to join the small group of children, Emily approached Daniel. Her manner was respectful but not afraid, as if she already understood the weight he carried. She said she had noticed Lily coming often, sometimes sitting quietly without joining the activities. She had seen her wiping away tears when she thought no one was looking. Emily hesitated, then told him gently that children do not cry like that unless something in their lives feels very wrong. Daniel felt a knot form in his stomach. He wanted to deny it, to protect the fragile image of control, but he knew she was right. Emily did not push further. She only said that Lily was bright, thoughtful, and eager for connection. She added that children like her open up when they feel truly safe, and sometimes all it takes is one adult willing to listen without judgment. There was something in her voice that made Daniel believe her. She did not pity Lily. She respected her. He realized in that moment how rare it was to see someone treat his daughter not as fragile or broken, but as capable of joy. Watching Emily's easy way of drawing Lily into conversation, he felt the first flicker of relief. Maybe he did not have to walk through this alone. It happened slowly, in the quiet moments when Lily felt Emily's presence beside her. Sitting in the corner of the library, Lily leaned closer and began to whisper. She said Catherine yelled at her when Daniel was away. She said Catherine left her alone in her room without dinner when she cried too much. Her words were hesitant at first, like fragile glass that might shatter, but once she started, she could not stop. Emily listened without interrupting, nodding gently, her hand resting near Lily's to show she was safe. Lily's voice broke when she admitted she was scared every night. Catherine tucked her into bed. Sometimes Catherine told her that her real mother would be ashamed of her. Sometimes she called her a burden, a mistake. Each confession cut into Daniel like a blade. He wanted to cover his ears, but he knew he had to hear every word. When Lily finally grew quiet, Emily looked at Daniel with steady eyes. "This is not simple conflict," she said softly. "This is emotional abuse. It leaves scars, even if they are not visible. Children learn to doubt themselves, to shrink, to believe they are unworthy of love. And Lily has been living in that shadow for far too long." Daniel felt rage burning inside him, mixed with shame that made his stomach twist. He remembered every excuse Catherine had given him. He remembered nodding, even defending her when teachers or neighbors hinted something was wrong. He thought he was protecting his family. In truth, he had been protecting the very person who was destroying it. He looked at Emily, her calm voice grounding him in the storm. For the first time in months, maybe years, he felt a flicker of hope. He was no longer blind. He was no longer alone. Daniel reached for Lily's hand and held it tightly. Then he turned back to Emily, his voice low but certain. "I will end this. Catherine will never touch my daughter again. From this moment on, every ounce of my strength goes to helping Lily heal." The decision settled into his chest with the weight of finality. He would not waver again. Daniel froze at the bottom of the stairs when he heard Catherine's voice drifting from the study. It was light, playful, so different from the sharp tone she used with Lily. Another voice answered, a man's voice, low and familiar with her. Daniel's pulse spiked. He stepped closer to the half-open door, every muscle tight with dread. Catherine laughed softly, the sound cruel. She told the man that Daniel was too easy to fool, that his long hours and blind devotion made him the perfect target. Then her voice dropped, sharp with venom. She said the crippled little girl embarrassed her, that if it were not for the money tied to her, she would have thrown her out long ago. Daniel's chest clenched so hard he thought his heart might stop. His hand pressed to the wall to steady himself, but his fingers shook violently. He wanted to storm in and tear the door from its hinges, but something in him held back. His breath came ragged as Catherine went on, mocking Lily's limp, mocking Daniel's trust, sneering that soon all his accounts and the girl's trust fund would be hers. Every word shredded him. It was not only betrayal, it was contempt. He had invited this woman into his home, into his daughter's life, and she had seen them as nothing but stepping stones. He pictured Lily's small face, tear-stained and frightened, whispering, "Please don't hit me." Rage burned in him, but beneath it was a deeper wound. For years he had believed in Catherine's lies, and now he realized she had despised them both all along. Daniel turned away from the door, his body trembling. The weight of shame pressed heavier than the fury. He was not only a husband deceived, he was a father who had failed to protect his child. That truth cut deeper than any blade. The weeks after the trial felt like learning to breathe again, but healing was not instant. At first, Lily still flinched when doors closed too hard, and she whispered, "I'm sorry," over the smallest things. Daniel's heart ached each time, but he and Emily never corrected her with anger. They reminded her gently that she had nothing to apologize for, that she was safe now. At night, Daniel would sit by her bed, reading softly until her eyes closed. Sometimes she woke crying from dreams, and Emily was there too, stroking her hair until the fear passed. Little by little, the nightmares loosened their grip. Lily began to laugh more, the kind of laughter that filled the house and lingered in the air. The garden became their sanctuary. Lily insisted on planting flowers for butterflies, saying they were symbols of change. At first, she worked with her shoulders hunched, always glancing toward the door. But Emily's calm presence and Daniel's steady patience gave her courage. One afternoon, Lily stood up from the dirt on her hands and a bright grin on her face, and called to her father in a voice loud and clear. It was the first time Daniel had heard her speak without hesitation in months. He felt tears burn his eyes as Emily crouched beside Lily, showing her how to hold the stem of a new plant. The sight of them together, both smiling, was more than comfort. It was proof that healing was real. His daughter was no longer defined by fear. She was finding her voice again. One evening, as the sun turned the garden golden, Lily wiped her hands and ran into Daniel's arms. She told him that her mother in heaven would want him to be happy too, and then she turned to Emily with a certainty that stunned him. She said she finally had another mother, a good one. Daniel's arms tightened around them both. He looked at Emily and saw more than gratitude. He saw a future. Emily's hand slipped into his, and in that silent exchange was a promise. Lily looked up, her eyes shining as she whispered that she finally had a family again. This was home. Butterflies rose into the evening air, their wings catching the light. Daniel knew the past could never be erased, but it no longer held them captive. His little girl, once afraid to exist, now bloomed like the flowers she had planted, and together they were ready for the life ahead. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Emotional Echoes, the place where true accounts and moving fiction come together to heal, uplift, and remind us of life's deepest values. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep your heart open. Don't forget to subscribe, Emotional Echoes, for more soul-stirring stories. Thanks for listening.